I used to think love was supposed to fit inside a box neat, predictable, and exclusively mine. Then I met Sofia, a woman whose heart seemed to hold entire universes, who loved without the limitations I'd built around my own soul. I was terrified, not of her, but of what loving her would mean, confronting every insecurity I'd buried, every narrow definition of devotion I'd clung to. I almost walked away. But staying changed everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and what it means to be truly free. The first time Sophia told me she was bisexual, I smiled and said all the right things. "That's beautiful," I told her, holding her hand across the coffee shop table. "I love that you're so open." But inside, something twisted a knot of anxiety I couldn't immediately identify. I'd been out as a lesbian for nearly a decade. I'd fought my own battles, come out to family who didn't understand, built a life in queer spaces where I finally felt I belonged. I thought I was progressive, enlightened even. But sitting across from this woman with her infectious laugh and eyes that seemed to see straight through me, I realized I was carrying something I'd never examined, a deep, irrational fear of bisexual women. Thought it wasn't hatred. It was something more insidious, a collection of whispered warnings I'd absorbed from other lesbians over the years. Bi women always leave for men eventually. They're just experimenting. You can't trust them to stay. These narratives had nested in my subconscious like parasites. And now, as I fell deeper for Sophia, they woke up hungry. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent years demanding acceptance, fighting against people who claimed my love wasn't valid, who said it was just a phase. And here I was, looking at Sophia and wondering if her love was temporary, if I was just a chapter in her journey back to men, back to the safety of heteronormativity. I watched her talk about her ex-girlfriend and her ex-boyfriend with the same fondness, the same emotional honesty. She didn't compartmentalize her past loves by gender. They were just people she'd cared for, people who'd shaped her. I found that simultaneously beautiful and terrifying. What if I was just another person in that line? What if the next one was a man, and everything we built together became a phase she'd look back on? These thoughts consumed me in the early days. I'd lie awake at night while Sophia slept beside me, wondering if I was enough, if I could ever be enough when I represented only half of what attracted her. 3 months into our relationship, we went to a party together, a friend's birthday at a crowded bar downtown. I watched Sophia navigate the room like she always did, with easy confidence and genuine interest in everyone she spoke to. She laughed with a group of straight guys near the pool table. She danced with women I recognized from the local queer scene. She was effortlessly herself, magnetic and unfiltered, and I was drowning in jealousy when a man put his hand on her lower back while leaning in to tell her something over the music. Something in me snapped. I grabbed my coat and left without saying goodbye. I texted her that I needed space, then turned off my phone and walked home in the cold November rain. Tears mixing with the water streaming down my face. She showed up at my apartment an hour later, soaked and out of breath. "What the hell was that?" she demanded, her voice cracking with hurt and confusion. "You just left me there without a word. I've been calling you. I thought something terrible happened. I couldn't meet her eyes. I saw you with that guy." "What guy? Marcus?" "He was telling me his wife just had a baby. It doesn't matter what he was saying. It's the way he touched you, the way you smiled at him, the way you smile at everyone." The words came out in a rush, ugly and desperate. How am I supposed to compete with the entire world, Sophia? How am I supposed to feel secure when you're attracted to literally everyone? The silence that followed felt like a chasm opening between us. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet, measured. "Is that what you think? That I'm just waiting for someone better to come along? That my bisexuality makes me incapable of commitment? I don't know, I whispered. Maybe. She sat down on my couch, still dripping rainwater onto my floor. I need you to hear something, and I need you to really listen. My bisexuality is not about being greedy or indecisive or unable to commit. It's about being capable of attraction regardless of gender. It doesn't mean I'm attracted to everyone. It doesn't mean I want everyone. And it definitely doesn't mean that being with you leaves me somehow unfulfilled. But you have options I can never be. Stop. Her voice was firm now. I chose you. Not because you're a woman, not despite you being a woman, but because you're you. Every relationship involves choosing one person when millions of others exist in the world. Your sexuality doesn't change that fundamental truth. Mine doesn't either. After that night, I made a choice. Either work through my prejudices or lose the most incredible woman I'd ever met. I chose the harder path. I started reading blogs by bisexual people, academic articles about biphobia, personal essays that made me cringe with recognition as I saw my own biases reflected back at me. Learned that biphobia within the queer community is pervasive and deeply harmful. I learned that bisexual people face higher rates of anxiety, depression, and intimate partner violence than both straight and gay people, partly because they're often rejected by both communities. I learned that the stereotypes I'd unconsciously absorbed, that bi people are promiscuous, untrustworthy, or going through a phase, have been used to marginalize and erase bisexual identities for decades. Most importantly, I learned to sit with my insecurity without projecting it onto Sofia's identity. My fear wasn't about her bisexuality, it was about my own sense of inadequacy. I've been hurt before by women who left, and I constructed a narrative that bisexual women were more likely to leave because they had more options. But the truth was that anyone could leave anyone. Monosexuality didn't grant immunity from heartbreak. Sophia was patient with me as I stumbled through this process. She answered my questions honestly, even the ones I was ashamed to ask. She shared her own experiences of being fetishized by men who saw her as available and rejected by lesbians who saw her as not queer. Enough. She helped me understand that her bisexuality wasn't about me at all. It was simply part of who she was. As inherent and unchangeable as my lesbianism was to me, one evening, as we cooked dinner together in her small kitchen, she said something that shifted my entire perspective. You know what freedom means to me? It means loving without conditions. It means not asking someone to shrink or hide parts of themselves to make me comfortable. You say you love me, but do you love all of me? Or just the parts that don't scare you? The question hung in the air between us, heavy with truth. I looked at this woman who'd been nothing but authentic since the day we met, and I realized I'd been asking her to perform certainty to somehow prove she was gay enough to stay. I'd been demanding she limit herself to make me feel secure. That was the moment I truly began to change. A year later, I understand what Sofia meant about freedom. Loving her has taught me that real love isn't about possession or guarantees. It's about trust and choice. Renewed every single day, I've learned to celebrate her bisexuality rather than fear it. I love watching her eyes light up when we analyze characters in the movies we watch together, discussing both the handsome actors and beautiful actresses with equal appreciation. I love that she brings a perspective to our queer community that challenges binary thinking. I love that she's unapologetically herself in every space she occupies. More than that, loving Sofia has freed me from my own rigid thinking. I used to believe that love had to look a certain way, that my partner's attraction needed to be exclusively directed at women for me to feel valid and secure. But security doesn't come from controlling or limiting someone else. It comes from building trust, from communication, from showing up for each other consistently. She's taught me that identity is complex and multi-layered. Being bisexual isn't about being half gay and half straight, or about having a foot in two worlds. It's a complete identity unto itself, with its own history, community, and experiences. I've learned to be a better ally not just to Sofia, but to all bisexual people who face erasure and discrimination from multiple directions. I've also learned to examine my other prejudices. If I could harbor such irrational fears about bisexual women while considering myself progressive, what other biases was I carrying unconsciously? This relationship has pushed me to question my assumptions about gender, monogamy, commitment, and what it means to be queer in a world that constantly tries to sort us into neat categories. Most importantly, Sophia taught me that love expands rather than restricts. Loving her hasn't diminished me, it's made me more compassionate, more self-aware, more capable of sitting with discomfort and growing through it. She's shown me that the most radical act in a world obsessed with ownership and control is to love someone fully while honoring their complete autonomy. These days, when I hold her hand walking down the street, I'm not wondering if she's looking at other people. I'm grateful that this brilliant, beautiful bisexual woman chooses me every day. Not because I'm her only option, but because what we've built together matters. That choice, made freely and continually, is worth more than any guarantee. I almost let fear destroy the best relationship of my life. I almost walked away from a woman who saw me, challenged me, and loved me completely because I couldn't see past my own prejudices. If you're struggling with similar fears about bisexuality, about trust, about whether you're enough, I want you to know that the problem isn't your partner's identity. It's the narratives we've been fed about who deserves our trust and what love should look like. Unlearning the phobia saved my relationship. It also made me a better person. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your experiences. Have you confronted your own biases within the LGBTQ community? How did you work through them? Share your story in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going.